Well, good morning. Welcome to Shields and Arrows, where we defend the faith, the family, and the fellowship. I am Pastor Mark Baze, and you'd be wondering what is going on. The setting looks very different. Well, that's because I am at the church. We are printing off notes, getting things ready for the Bible conference, and I went ahead and just brought my stuff to live stream right here. This is the TV behind me, and I know it may look a little bit purple to you on your screen, but I promise it's the regular blue logo. But I hope that you are doing well this morning as we have this Wednesday edition here. I feel like I'm doing Bible study because this is the same room that I do Bible study in. But no, this is regular Shields and Arrows. We'll discuss all sorts of matters of culture, politics, you name it. Most importantly, theology. That's what we're trying to defend. Now, what I want to do today, just to switch up things, change things a little bit here. I've got my computer in front of me, so you may notice me looking down. That's where I'm going to be saying hi to all of you who are taking the time to join. Now, what we're going to be talking about today primarily, I'm not focusing much on anything else other than this singular topic, which you can all see the title of the show, and that is how to choose a church. Now, we've talked about this a lot before, I'm sure. I've addressed matters of the importance of choosing a good church, and many churches don't have good doctrine, but I don't know if I've done a full-on video just addressing the matter, and even if I have, it's been a while, so how about I rant about it some more. But one reason why I kind of was motivated to talk about this is because I had several people ask me questions. The small church video has kind of had a revival ever since the church manipulation video took off, and I've had a few people comment on that. But I've also had a few people send me emails, and one specific person, I'm not going to go into much detail, but I'll use their first name, sent me an email. His name is Dave, and he was asking about a church recommendation, and he's located in a particular state, and even sent me the link to a church. Now, I could get into detail, and Dave, if I get time, I'll try to respond to you, but the truth is I'm very much tied up, busy with getting ready for the Bible conference, okay? So my email responding has not been great. I fully admit that. But what I want to do is I want to go ahead and answer your question, okay? I want to try to respond. Now, this is going to be, my hope is, by the time I'm done giving my masterful presentation here, that you're going to be able to apply this to any church. And that really is the goal here, that this guideline or my recommendations for choosing a church is going to just be a good overall step-by-step guideline, okay? Now, I realize that some people that watch may not agree with my doctrine, may not agree with my theology, so I'll give you two different paths, right, that you can go with. For one, I think that you should rightly divide. I think you should study to show yourself approved. I think that you need to understand the Pauline mystery and how significant that is. That we live in an age, I'll use the word dispensation, that we are saved by grace through faith, not of works, and it is very different from previous ages. And if you can, first and foremost, find a church that holds to a dispensational doctrine, that is, you're well on your way. Now, I will say it is difficult to find a church that really rightly divides the way we do, that says, hold on now, we can't just make it all of Jesus' instruction figurative or a metaphor or a life lesson. We need to take Him at His word, which means that we don't need to try to build a church doctrine. By church doctrine, I mean our age of grace, the way that we live, the way that we even teach salvation by just going to the Gospels. We've got to understand that Jesus was a minister to the circumcision, fulfilling the promises to God the Father, as we see in Romans, and I think that's Romans 15:8. But Paul is our apostle. He's the apostle to the Gentiles, so when we want to get ecclesiology, church governments, church leadership, when we want to get soteriology, eschatology, all those things, well, eschatology we can honestly build from all over the Bible, but when it comes to what is pertinent to us, right? What is the last days for our dispensation? How does it come to a close? We need to look at what the Apostle Paul has to say. So I would recommend, if you find a church, make sure it's a dispensational church at the very least. Dispensational, I mean, goodness, even Acts 2, please. If you can find somebody who is Acts 2, that would be much better than the alternatives. But let's go ahead and just broaden the scope here, okay? Let's just say that you are wanting to find a good church that at the very least, is going to teach the Bible. What should you be looking for? All right, what do you need to be having your eyes peeled for? What should you be listening to? Okay, now, let's just, first and foremost, in my opinion, when it comes to choosing a church, step one, rule out megachurches. Just rule them out, okay? I mean it. When you do that, that eliminates a number of churches in an area. And by megachurch, I know that there's a lot of wiggle room for that, but I would say certainly over 1,000. And some people would say a mega church is much more than that. Yeah, I guess so. They may say mega churches are technically in the tens of thousands, but I would just say if it's 1,000 plus, in my opinion, it's probably too big. Okay, I know some people may not like that. I'm sorry, don't know what to tell you. But I think once a church gets so big that you cannot shake the preacher's hand when you leave that day, that he is too busy, he's too guarded, he does not walk to the back of the church to make himself available. You've got to call the secretary and to make an appointment. I just don't see that being the most benefit. Churches that large are going to have staff, and they will have people to take out the trash and to mow the yard and all those things. I think you're missing out on the blessings of getting to be a part of ministry. It is so much easier in those larger churches to just hide out, to attend the service, but not really be involved in any other way. Also, I found that when churches have to break things up on like Wednesday nights or things like that and do life groups or small groups, I also find that to be a sign that the church is too big. If you want to have a get-together at people's houses, that's fine. I pastored a small church that was, the church I pastor now is still small, but the church I pastored before was probably a little bit smaller. And guess what? We had get-togethers. Instead of life groups, we had get-togethers. And we may study the Bible, but a lot of times it was just fellowshipping, having a meal, enjoying time together. So I would say, first and foremost, choosing a church, get you a smaller church to where people know your name, and it's not such a corporatized, overblown institution, right? How about that? I have a whole host of reasons why I told you in that small church video why it's better to be a part of a small church. So there you go. Step one, rule out the big churches. I would say 1,000 plus, all right? Sorry. I'm not actually sorry, though. Now, from there, how are you going to step forward? I would say find a conservative church, all right? Find a conservative church. Now, you may think that some of these churches are conservative, all right? But you need to dig more below the surface. Just because it is a First Baptist church, just because it's a church of Christ, whatever, right? I'm really broadening the scope here. Doesn't mean it's automatically conservative. Are they openly standing for biblical values? Do they defend traditional marriage? Do they take a stance against abortion? Do they believe that God's Word is preserved? Do they believe in the authority of Scripture? I think that all falls into conservatism, okay? It's underneath that umbrella, that they hold those basic tenets, all right? Are they caught up in social justice warriorness, or are they focused on upholding the biblical worldview, okay? And I'm being very general there. I'm not getting into deep matters of doctrine. Are they at least willing to say that a man is a man and a woman is a woman, all right? Now, for some of you, you think that's obvious, but I'm just telling you right now, there are a lot of churches that are getting very laxed on these social issues. Back in 2020, when you had Black Lives Matter and all the marching and all the things, George Floyd, whatnot, a lot of churches leaned heavily into the social justice warriorness of it, all right? Affiliating with Black Lives Matter and some of those organizations. And I'm telling you right now, those kind of organizations, that political movement has nothing to do with Christianity, okay? If they're more worried about stumping for the progressive agenda, you need to run for the hills, okay? So just by doing that, you've already eliminated a number of churches, okay? And this is kind of the deductive way to do it. I was listening to a show just the other day, a video, and if I said, I want you to pick a number between 1 and a million, okay? 1 in a million. Now, on your first chance, you have a 1 in a million shot, right? But if I allow you to use deduction to determine that, you can get to that number a lot quicker, right? You can just start saying, well, is it 1? No. Is it 2? No. 3? No. 4? No. And then you can just start doing random numbers, 117, 2,136, things like that. But if I let you use deductive reasoning, okay? So let's say I'm going to have you choose a number between 1 and 1,000,000. All right. Is it greater than 500,000? No. Well, immediately we have eliminated 500,000 options, all right? You have cut your options in half. Now, what do? Well, is it less than 250,000? Yes. Okay, now we've cut it even more. So we were at 1,000,000 options, now we're down to 250,000. And every time you ask that question, all right, it continues to have. So is it greater or less, or is it greater than 125,000? Yes. Okay. Now you have gone from 1,000,000 to 125,000, and every time you cut it in half, your odds of finding it get better and better and better versus just going, okay, well, let's go to this church. Well, let's go to that church. By doing this, by eliminating the large churches, by eliminating the progressive churches, we've already greatly narrowed this down. Now, what should you do next? From here, and truth be told, you may have to do some research. It's not like a lot of these churches are going to advertise that they're progressive. Okay, when you go to the church website, for example, it's not like you can see necessarily. Now, if it's a Presbyterian, if it's a United Methodist church, you'll probably be able to figure it out. You'll be able to see a pride flag or something on their website. But you have to do a little bit of research, though, first and foremost. McLean Bible Church, David Platt's church, it is a progressive church. If you were to go to the church website, McLean Bible Church, you wouldn't automatically see that it is a progressive, liberal church. But all you've got to do is do a little bit of reading on the internet, and you can find out. Watch a few sermons, see how they handle those issues, right, if there ever is an opportunity to listen to a sermon, if it's recorded, things like that. You will have to do a little bit of homework, but you can determine pretty quickly whether or not these churches are progressive or they are more conservative. Now, where do you go from there? This is where probably the priority, the exact order of things could be switched around a little bit. What I would do personally, once I've eliminated large churches, once I've eliminated progressive churches, I'm probably going to look and see what their sermons are like. Okay? Once again, I have not even looked at their, truth be told, I haven't even gone to their mission statements yet. Okay? I have not gone to their mission statements. I haven't gone to their doctrinal positions, all right? What I'm doing right now is I'm seeing, are they teaching the Bible, okay? That's what we want to do. And truth be told, by making that one of your requirements, then you are automatically, once again, having, if not more than having, the total option of churches you're trying to choose from. Now, look and see, what are the sermons like? And truth be told, a lot of times you can tell without even having to watch the sermon. What is the title of it? Is the title based on something related to doctrine? Okay. So for example, if you were to go to our YouTube channel, I'm not going to brag, I will, I guess. But look at, excuse me, look at our titles here, okay? I'm going to step over here and click this button so you can see. All right, so here is a list of our sermons that we have done. If they asked, now that one is a little bit vague, but overall you could generally tell it is if they ask questions regarding the doctrine. Understanding our dispensation. Right off the bat, somebody will be able to look at our church and be able to tell, oh, they are a dispensational church. Onward Christian Soldiers, that one's not just extremely deep. Understanding the teachings of Jesus is, I think, at least somewhat of a sign that, hey, they're at least trying to study the Bible. The Last Days, that is heavily doctrine, because that's clearly eschatology. God's preserved Word, that is heavily doctrine. Once again, the idea that God preserves His Word. Misapplied, questioning doctrine derived from Bible stories. That has doctrine in the name. What more do you want? Philippians verse by verse. Jonah verse by verse. Defending the Faith is our edited videos. Sermons, so let's just say we got the mystery of Christ. That's related to doctrine. Getting to know your Bible is an interesting one. Defining the words of Scripture. I would say all of these are, you would say at the very least, yes, there is a doctrinal aspect to it. Now, if you click on sermons here, you'll see our lovely singer, Jerry, there. But look at our doctrines here, okay? Or our sermons here. See if you can see that there's doctrine in here. The Easter sermon, Mother's Day, who is the Proverbs 31 woman, Matthew 11, 1 through 6. Look at this. A biblical view of America, you reap what you sow. Seek those things which are above, the virgin birth. I think that if you looked, and maybe I am being somewhat prideful, arrogant, I don't know, but I think that if you looked at our YouTube channel, you would be able to tell very quick that we're a church that studies the Bible, all right? As opposed to if you went to some other church, like if you just selected at random, I'll pick on Life Church. They're in Oklahoma. They do very well. A lot of people like to go to them. If you were to go to Life Church's website and to look and see what their studies are, let's just even go to, I don't know, they have so many YouTube channels, but maybe they have like a main YouTube channel, Life Church on, 242,000 subscribers, right? They're doing pretty well, I would say. Here's their different playlists. The benefit of doubt, you've heard it said, growing through doubt. What does it mean to live like Jesus, Christian-ish, finding hope and peace you're looking for, gratitude changes everything. They have a series on Jonah, so there you go. So you could compare, right? Compare their series on Jonah to our series on Jonah, see what you think. The faith you need in hard times, the good life, well, who do you think? I mean, there are a few sermons, one-off sermons that I have that are addressing our matters of you reap what you sow, the peace of God, things like that. But it's pretty much, that's it consistently, right? Fear not, habits of a healthy heart. So, and also Life Church is not going to even be a part of your search because they're larger than what you're looking for. You're looking for a small church. As far as conservative versus progressive, I wouldn't say that they're very much opinionated. I mean, I think probably there's some conservative people there, I guess, but they're not extremely opinionated on the matter. How about that? So what you can do is you can do some investigating. Most churches nowadays do not avoid the internet. They'll actually upload things, and so you can see what they're teaching. So are they teaching the Bible? Is the majority of their sermons focused on a type of doctrine? Can you understand? Here's a great test. Watch 5 minutes of their sermon, maybe 10, but you should be able to even in 5, and you will get an excellent idea of what their ministry, their teaching really is like. If in the first 5 minutes you don't get some kind of picture of their theology, whether they're Calvinist or whether they are Arminian or whether they are hopefully a right divider. I reject both camps. I don't play with either one of them, and I'm kicked out of both of them. No, I don't want to be a member of them. So you will get an idea, a general idea of, hey, there is something about this. I've told the story before when I went to Taos, New Mexico, and my wife and I for our first anniversary trip, and we saw Randy White preaching at Taos First Baptist, which is not a big church at all. I could tell immediately this guy was different. The style that he preached is very different than anybody else I had really seen for the most part. So pay attention. Look at what they're teaching, okay? So if you have now narrowed X'd out the big churches, X'd out the liberal churches, found a church that does consistently teach the Bible, this is where you are going to have to get a little bit more particular for yourself. Now, certainly I have my recommendation. I am a dispensationalist, and I would encourage you to be a dispensationalist. I think that it is the most consistent concise way to interpret the Bible. It allows us to take the Bible literally. It resolves the contradictory verses that we find in the Bible, and we're able to understand our gospel loudly and clearly, saved by grace through faith through the shed blood of Christ, and we don't have to try to explain away, play Bible twister with those, how do I want to put it? Those challenging verses that are written for Israel, that so many other people will try to go ahead and shoehorn into our gospel, all right? Now, this is where you can go to their doctrinal statements. This is where it's kind of challenging for us, though, because my church does not have a website yet. We're going to get one. I just have not built one yet for our church. My ministry has a website. And truth be told, I probably could use a doctrinal statement on my church website. If you are to click on my website and go to About Our Ministry, you're honestly going to find this. Now, originally in my first website, it was heavily focused on explaining dispensational doctrine. But what I've decided to do, at least about our ministry, is focus on what people want to know. Do you want to find serious Bible study? Taking the Bible literally, historically, grammatically, and contextually. Now, I think a lot of people would be able to see, hey, this is a very much a... if you are paying attention, you can read between the lines and understand that we take a dispensational view. Okay, like we're quoting things such as 2 Timothy 2:15. We should study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. So we strive to teach exegetically. Calvinism is eisegesis, dispensationalism is exegesis. So then I have, if you are ready to seriously study the Bible, come join us, and I have a click here, and then what does it do? It takes you to our sermon notes. Now these need some serious updating. That's coming. A website is on its way, I promise. But you can still, get to know your Bible, the mystery of Christ. You are sent well on your way to listening to sermons that will give you a very good idea of doctrine. So you have to decide, first of all, what do you believe? I would say if you're somebody who is not, how do I put it? If you're someone who is not grounded in what you believe, I would encourage you to check out a dispensational church. It's very much my view. And truth is, everybody's dispensationalist to some degree. I mean, everybody agrees we're not in the garden. I don't know how much they use the word dispensation, but even if you're somebody who says starting in Matthew 1, that's all for us, well, that does imply that everything prior to Matthew was for Israel, so there's been a dispensational change. But some people are more upfront about it, they're more open about it than others. So I would recommend a dispensational church. But let's say that you have moved to a new area, you're Reformed. Not many Calvinists ever bother listening to this, but you're Reformed. Reformed people will probably do a decent job because they believe they know their doctrine. But then again, there's some people who are not Reformed who reject Calvinism, or at least they reject some of the, I would say they reject 2 or maybe 3 of the Calvinist points of Tulip, and yet they won't pay enough attention, and they'll go to a 5-point Calvinist church because they're Baptist, what have you, and they go to the local Baptist church, and the Baptist preacher there is Calvinist, right? And people don't realize it. Pay attention to what you believe. Think to yourself, what is my doctrine? Okay, your view of the Bible absolutely matters. You'll be miserable if you're not a Calvinist and you go to a church that's Calvinist, because you will not enjoy it. Don't attend church just because you feel like it's an obligation. Rather, you should find a church that actually edifies you, that builds you up. Okay. Now, with all that being said, we have narrowed it down to small churches that teach the Bible, and churches that agree with your doctrine. This is going to take a process. I want you to know, don't think that, how am I trying to put this? Don't think that There's a train, and it's a train of thought, and it gets lost. I looked down and I was reading some of your comments, and I got to be careful. Dr. White, he used to coach me, still does sometimes, when you're doing your broadcast. Don't look at the comments too much because it will throw you off your train of thought. So with that, let me try to gather where we're at here. So don't think that you're going to find this quickly. That's where I was at. Don't think that this is going to be a process that you can do over the course of a few months. Now, maybe you're extremely lucky. Okay, maybe it just happens that way, that you come across the right church in just the right way. Sometimes that happens. But don't be discouraged if you spend months, a year, maybe even a couple years finding the right church. A number of people that I talk to who will send me messages, who will email me on the internet, who comment on my videos, they will say, we have been looking for years to find a church. My response is to them, that is extremely difficult because we long for fellowship. I have a good friend who's a member of my church, and he spent many years without attending an actual congregation. They did house church, which house churches are great. If you can find one, by all means. Or if you can start one, by all means. But there is something about gathering in a building that is dedicated, built for the purpose of worshiping the Lord and studying with fellow believers. It is a hard thing to do to be that long without a fellowship of believers. And my words to you is don't settle. Don't settle. Now, that doesn't mean that you may find the perfect church. You may not. Want to hear a little bit of a truth? There's no perfect churches. Not a one, okay? They all have their problems. They all have their flaws, even mine, right? Even though mine is the best, it still has its flaws and its problems. What you can do is you can find a church that will allow you to grow in your Bible knowledge, that will edify you. And it doesn't always have to be everyone agreeing on the exact same doctrines to a T. Even right dividers, we don't all agree to an exact T on everything because we're a little bit more independent thinking. We're too opinionated. That's why we rightly divide the Bible. If we were very much of the mindset, well, this is what churches have always taught. They've always taught that Jesus preached our gospel. Even though Jesus told the Jews to keep the law, and he told the disciples that he was going to die and be resurrected, and the disciples were surprised. And this is not the beginning of the Gospels. This is Matthew 18, Matthew 19, something along those lines. And the disciples are still shocked because our gospel was a mystery, kept secret, hid in God before the foundation of the world and was revealed afterwards. This is what we clearly get from the Apostle Paul. So there's even amongst right dividers who agree on those things, there are some intricate differences between us, okay? But if you can find a church that at the very least will allow you to study the Bible, maybe lets you engage in discussion. Maybe on Wednesday nights you meet, you fellowship, and you share your studies. And you're not kicked out for it, right? You're not run out of town. Well, if that church will let you study to show yourself approved, then maybe you've found the church that you can attend. But I do see far too often people settling. And I would encourage you, it is better, just like getting married, for example, it's much better to be picky than to settle, okay? I think you should approach church the same way. Don't settle. Don't settle. So with that, I hope that helps in how to choose a church. Like I said, you will be much better off doing the deductive method. Instead of just going to different churches, trying this one out, trying that one out, you'll find your efforts to be much more successful. Now, I will say this. Truth be told, there are some people who live nowhere close to a good church. Nowhere close. And they live in some pretty heavily populated urban areas. They live in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. They live near a big city somewhere else. And yet there is not, they cannot find any biblically sound church to go to. Now I know for some people who don't take our view of Scripture, they will say, how is that possible? There's 1,000 churches in a couple of square miles in those cities. I'm just telling you, when you start taking the Bible literally and contextually, and you understand that there was a distinct ministry given to Israel and a gospel of the kingdom, which was not one of salvation by grace through faith, but one of enduring to the end, that was preached at Pentecost and then preached to the Gentiles. Cornelius was called to fear God and bring and work righteousness to be approved of God. Many people will most churches do not hold that view. They will read into it, well, what that means is a true believer will do the right things, that they will fear God. And when Paul talks about a mystery, saying that this is a new thing, that I am the apostle to the Gentiles, Peter's the apostle to the Jews, concerning the matters of the revelation of the mystery, I am the one that has this. This is my gospel that he calls in Romans chapter 16. A lot of people just don't want to hear it. And so for the people who do see those things, that they do agree in rightly dividing in the mystery that was revealed, which explains why we don't live in the age of prophecy, why we're not seeing tongues and the healing of the lame and the kingdom coming down to earth, they just cannot find a church. They just can't. So I say you have a couple options. Either you can try to start one. Some people do that. They start a home church. That's what we have some people in DFW not too far away who do a home church. You can do that. Option number two, you can try to convert a church, which is very difficult. The best way is to be the pastor. That's how I do it. I found that to be the most effective way, that if you want to convert a church to rightly dividing, you just got to become the preacher. So I'll get hired to become the pastor of the church. And so then you can just teach right division from the pulpit every Sunday. The other option, which is I'll say there's two more options. So the first option was to start a home church. Second one was to infiltrate another one. Calvinists like to do it. Hey, if the Calvinists do it, I'm all for it. Calvinists have been infiltrating churches and converting them. Why can't right dividers do the same thing? Number three, you can accept it and be a part of online ministry. That's what we have a number of people here do the exact same thing, that they engage in online ministry. They're a part of online ministry. They may technically be a member of a church that's further away. They support a local congregation, but it's not local to them, right? So you can do that. Option number four, which is quite extreme, but it depends on what you feel like you need to do, you can move. You can move. There have been people who have relocated across the country to find a good church. If you're flexible enough to do it, how serious are you about finding a good church? That's the question that I have for you. What is a priority? Families will move to get closer to a good school for their kids. Are you willing to move to get closer to a good church for your kids? That's a question to consider. Are you willing to go to that length? Some people are maybe willing to do that. For others, maybe it's not economically feasible. They can't afford to move, or the pay's too good. I fully get it. I mean, I don't get the idea of pay being too good, but I get the idea that if you're making good money somewhere, you don't want to move. So this is where you're at. I hope that this gives you a good idea. I know that we kind of, we got on a few rabbit trails. I lost my train of thought a few times. This is an interesting setup. I've got a screen here in front of me, my computer screen, and I was kind of looking at the conversations as this tracks here, and I did not multitask very well. It's a new setting. Hey, whenever you do a new show in a new place, it's a little bit different. Hey, but how do you like it? Do you like the cool little TV screen in the background? I've got to fix the color. The color of it looks a little bit purple, I feel like, on your screen, but I promise it's the good old-fashioned Shields and Arrows blue, okay? I promise you that. But let me say hi to a few people who have taken the time to hop in here. We've got Rick on. Rick, excited to see you. We'll see you here in just about a week and a half. Rick will be with us. Myra, great to have you as well. Myra's one of those who does not have a good church close by, but she is a member of Taos, so she supports them and is a part of the ministry to the best of her ability. We got Ken with us. Ken needs to become an honorary member of our church at some point. He's close enough. Dr. Campbell, Kitty, is with us. Kitty is a member of our church, attends personally. Toby, great to have you. Toby, you're close enough. I hope you can make it to the Bible conference. Michaela's here. I've never actually got to meet Toby in person. Great to have you, Michaela. Michaela, you're on the East Coast, right? Help me remember. Are you Massachusetts? Is that right? I think so. I think. We got Robert on with us. Kristen, great to see you. Cliff. Chuck's on with us today, getting in some time here at work. Yeah, Toby, I could have went into that. I said, right, dispensational. I kind of almost assumed that if a dispensation, Toby mentions, I would check and see if they're using a KJV. The smaller, the better. Yeah. I did leave out Bible versions. It is important, but I think that you can kind of tie that up into dispensational churches. If they're a dispensational church, they'll use the KJV usually. Chuck giving us comments on Life Church. Kurt's on with us today. Kurt's a fellow theologian of ours. Kurt's one of those that he doesn't agree with the doctrine, but we study to show ourselves approved, and I really do appreciate Kurt all the same. Let's see here. Deborah's on with us. Deborah, always appreciate you. It's been great getting to meet you. Cliff's on. Always appreciate Cliff. Always appreciate Kurt and Cliff. Let's see here. Rick's on. Or I already said hi to Rick. Mary Terry. Thank you, Mary. You like the setup there. Hey, here's Scott. Hadn't got to talk to Scott in a little while. Didn't know that he was here with us. Yeah, Scott, thank you. I'm glad you like it. Maybe this will become the setup one day once I get the new studio all put in place. Cliff says there are over 150 Mid-Acts U.S. churches listed on Easy Believers. I need to try to get on those lists. I've emailed a few different websites, but I don't know if they just see Baptist on the logo and want to kick me out. I don't know. It's possible. Oh, Michaela's Kentucky. I'm sorry, Michaela. I'm sorry. I did not mean to offend you. G. Silva says, are you, I'm watching you from California. I don't know what you mean by are you, but did you mean where are you? We're in Oklahoma is where we are. Jerry is on with us today. Jerry, always appreciate you. Great to have you. Well, everyone, so what I have going on, let me talk about the Bible conference now that you've heard me rant about choosing a church. Once again, it was a very general statement. Obviously, I want you to be a Mid-Acts right dividing dispensationalist using a KJV, and I want you to be a member of my church. All right, that's what I want. Okay, but you can't always get what you want, so I'm trying to do the best I can. That was a general instruction, right? So, truth be told, I think that a Calvinist could take that guideline and do well, at least for a Calvinist, as good as Calvinists can do. I think a typical Baptist could do okay, but Baptists don't have much study of the Bible anyway, so they probably don't care. Church of Christ, I think that those various different guidelines I gave will help you. I'm very much a proponent of smaller churches. Okay, I think smaller churches are the way to go. Now, Bible conference. We're almost there, people. We're going to get started. Today is Wednesday. We're going to be starting next week on Friday, and I'm excited. It's going to be our first really big Bible conference. Let me go ahead and show you right here. Addressing Common Bible Study Mistakes, the 2025 Bible Conference for Blue Baptist Church. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be on Friday, and it'll run through till Sunday morning. I hope that you will be able to join us, whether online or in person. Yesterday, I was up at the church. Some of you may have saw that I did a test run of our streaming. We had a few recording issues in which I've addressed. They're fixed now, so the streaming for our Bible conference should work. It should do just fine, okay? So I hope that you are excited about it. If you are planning on coming, let me go ahead and announce this one more time. If you're planning on coming to the Bible conference, all right, all I would ask of you is to send me an email letting me know, or if you have my number, you can text me, letting me know that you're coming, okay? Because we're trying to get an idea of how many people to feed. Okay, we're going to feed you Friday night. Friday night will be pizza and salad and cookies, I think. And then breakfast Saturday morning will be donuts, coffee, milk, orange juice, all that good stuff. And then lunch will be barbecue. We're just trying to get a general idea. We're shooting for, we are planning to feed, I think, about 70, 75 people, okay? That's about what we're planning on. And then if we need to get some sandwiches out of the fridge, we'll get some sandwiches out of the fridge, okay? I hope that we run out. I've printed off 80 copies, or we're working on, that's what I'm actually about to go do here in just a minute. We're going to have 80 copies of the entire notes ready for you, and it'll be 7 sessions, okay? So 1 hour long session Friday night. We will do 5, is that 5? No. 4 sessions on Saturday. Saturday will be the long day, and then we'll wrap it up with 2 sessions on Sunday. So with all of that being said, I really do appreciate all that you have done to support this ministry. If you would like to help us, you can always go to markbazeministries.org. There's options to support our ministry there. If you want to contact me about it, I would really appreciate it. You make this possible. The equipment that you've seen, people have been so generous to donate to help make all of this happen. I really am so grateful for the opportunity that I have to teach the Bible. This is what I enjoy doing. This is what I want to do. I think I have the best job in the world, all right? And you help make that possible because you are dedicated to defending the faith, the family, the fellowship. That's what this ministry here, Shields and Arrows, Mark Baze Ministries, that's what we're all about. I plan on doing this for a long time, and with your help, I think that we can do a lot of good, okay? So with that, thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. We'll see you tomorrow for Theology Thursday.